This is going to be a tutorial on how to use multiple tasks. And so I'm going to start by going to motor and sensor setup, and I'm going to set up just 3 different LEDs. And so I'm going to call them green, and then yellow, and red. And I've just got them separated in the cortex so that they are showing green, yellow, red, and they're in the various ports. Now I'm going to set these as digital out. And then I'm also going to use a button here in a minute, so I will go ahead and put in touch for the button. And I'm going to label it emergency button. Okay. And that's it for the sensors, so just those 3 sensors. Okay, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make an LED blink. And I'm going to do that by using a couple of loops. So I'm going to say while true, and so that's going to be my infinite loop, all right? So I'm going to say infinite loop. And then inside of that, I'm going to start a task. But before I start a task, let's just do this without doing a task at all. So I'll say green, or sensor value of the red LED is going to equal 0. Okay, and just keep doing that over and over again. So let me download that to the robot and see what happens. It's going to tell me to save it, so I'll save it. Okay, and then it should pop up asking me if I want to start it. Okay, so start, and all right, looks like we have the red LED on. Now the green LED is on also. That's probably just because that value was already in memory. And so what it's usually a good idea to do is go ahead and specify that you want the other ones off also. And so I'll go ahead and do that now. Sensor value of green will equal 0, which is actually on, and then 1 is off. And then since I have 3, I might as well do this. So sensor value for yellow is going to equal 1. All right. Download to the robot, give it another shot, see what happens. Lots of trial and error. Best way to do it. All right, we have just a red LED on, so that's great. So I'm going to stop that. Now, what I like to do is to specify, in this case, when the red LED is on, I don't want any of the other LEDs on. So if I just want red, then I want the other 2 off. So for the purposes of my program, I'm going to create some functions that do just that. For instance, I'm going to say red light is going to be exactly what this is down here. And I'm going to copy and paste all that text right there, compile, make sure I didn't make any mistakes. Looks like it compiles. It's just telling me that there's nothing in my loop and that I'm not using that function, but that's okay because we're going to in a minute. Now I'm going to copy and paste this 2 more times. and I'm going to make it, instead of red light, I'm going to say green light and yellow light. Okay, so red light is good. Green light, if green light is green light, so green should be 0 and this should be 1. And then this one is yellow light, so yellow should be 0. Great. Now whenever I want a light to come on, all I have to do is use that function for that specific value. Okay, so now I want to write a program where one comes on and goes off, and the next turns on, and then it goes off, the next turns on, goes off, next turns on, or it blinks, for instance. So let's do that. Let's just start off real simple, because we're learning how to use separate tasks in this lesson, and then we'll also learn how to do use timers in the next lesson. So we'll continue on using this exact same code. So right now I want to set up a task where my LED blinks, and so I'm going to have the red LED blink if it's an emergency. So I'll set up a task that is going to be called red blink. We'll call it red blink. All right. And I'm going to do red light, and that's going to go on. I'm going to have it wait for, say, a second. Actually, that's too long. Let's do half a second. And now there's also something that I like to do sometimes where I do all off and all on, but for this I think I'll just do I'll just do red light sensor value, red, and it's going to equal 1 because we want it off. So it's on, it waits a half second, then it's off, and we're going to wait a half second. All right, and we want that to continue until we tell it to stop. So we're going to do while, we're just going to do while true. Make sure we put in our closing curly brace. There we go. Now we have a function that just makes a light flash. And so let's go ahead and just test our function. Right here, we don't have to do it in this loop. We don't need a loop at all, actually. Okay, so we'll say start task. And what do we call it? Red blink. Okay. And now the task, the main task, is going to execute, and it may stop right away. So I'm going to make sure I'm just going to put a wait in the bottom. Let's just do 5 seconds. So when I'm testing like this, if I don't have anything in task main, I try to put something in there, just like a wait, just so that it doesn't just execute the task if there's nothing in there, and then the program won't run at all. Okay, it compiled, no problem. If I download it, I'll click start. And there we go. Our red light is blinking. And it should just do that for forever because the task is running and nothing's told the task to stop. All right, so that's actually the next thing that we're going to do. We're going to say until bump. And so until bump, we're going to have it, we're going to use the emergency button. So until bump, emergency button, start task. And then I'm going to do until bump again, emergency button, stop task, red blink. Okay, so I'm going to say download to robot. Oh yeah, and I want to be able to start it and stop it continuously. I don't need this wait here anymore. And since I want to be able to do it continuously, I'm going to put it in a loop so that it'll just keep on checking it for the button value. Fix that formatting. So compile program. A lot of times I like to click compile before download. I don't know why. I just do. So if I click download to robot, here it goes. I'm going to click start. Okay, and it's waiting for me to push the button. I'll push the button. Well, that's interesting. Now the red light is just staying on. Wonder why. So I'm going to troubleshoot this. So if it says until bump, start task red blink, so it's starting that task, and it's waiting for the until bump again before it does the stop test. So let me try that. That's interesting. Now it goes on. If I push the button, it goes off. Starts, stops. Okay, so the value of that was probably stored in there. So it probably would be a good idea for me to do this. I'm going to write a function that just says all off. Okay, so I want to make sure that all my LEDs are off when I start. So I'm just going to copy and paste one of these, say the red light. I'm going to say all LED off. Okay, all LED off. And then these are all going to be ones. There you go. Simple as that, right? Now, if I go down here, when I start my program, the very first thing before the loop is I just wanted to say all LED off. That's it. Let's say download the robot. Let's see what happens. Okay, no red lights, so that's good. If I push the button, and it's blinking, and I push the button, ooh. Now, I push the button and it's still on. Push the button, it blinks. Push the button. I think what might be happening is it might be registering the button press more than once. So there are some features in RobotC on these commands and these functions. For instance, on the until bump function, you can actually specify a delay in milliseconds right after the button that you name. So for instance, emergency button, if you put in comma like that, put in like 10 milliseconds. I think that helps it sometimes. I've also seen people put in wait times, like say wait 1 msec and then putting in just 1, so 1 millisecond. Sometimes that helps, putting in waits sometimes. It could also just be the button. It could be a crappy button. Other than that, I think it's working. The only thing that I did notice is that if the task is running, which means it's turning the light on, it's turning it off. It's turning the light on, it's turning it off. It's turning the light on, it's turning it off. If I push the button to stop the flashing task, if the light is on, it's going to stay on. So I would probably, in this case, if I wanted everything to go off, I would probably say until bump, stop task red LED, and then put, all LEDs off. Like that. Just to make sure that no matter what's going on, if the light is on or not, when I push that button, it's going to stop the task and it's going to turn all the LEDs off. Now, the really cool thing about tasks is that you can run more than one at the same time. So you can have something looping and something else looping at the exact same time. So I could have the red light flashing, and then I could push the button and make the yellow light flash, or I could do all kinds of different things. So I'm going to actually get the red light and the green light flashing at the same time. Let's just test this little changes that I made real quick. Okay, well, that didn't seem to work. It seemed like it made it worse now. Well, now it's flashing, and push the button, it's off. Flashing, push the button, it's off. Oh. This might not be a good button. Well, anyway, I think you get the idea. It's a real simple program to get a light flashing and to use a separate task to do it. So that's going to be it for the tasks. But one more thing before we go, I'm going to go ahead and do 2 buttons flashing at the same time. If you think you can figure out how to do this, you might want to just stop now and give it a shot. Otherwise, you can just watch me. I'm going to go ahead and grab this task, red blink, and I'm going to copy it. Also, I need to mention that your tasks, user-defined tasks, need to be before task main. So task main should just be all the way at the bottom. All right. The program's going to initialize. It's going to look at all the variables, all the tasks that you've defined, and then all the way down to task main. And it's going to start at task main, and it's going to execute that program when it gets there. And it's not going to do anything with the stuff above it until it's told to within task main. So I copied that, and then did I paste it yet? No, I did not. So, oh, it did. So I'm going to say green blink. Now, the problem that I'm realizing right now is if I have them blink independently of each other, then I can't use this red light function because I have red light. When red light's on, green light has to be off, and so these things are going to interfere with each other. So I'm going to just say sensor value red is going to equal 0. All right, so then I have that. Sensor value green is equal to 0. I'm going to change this to green. Okay, so I have a green blink and a red blink, and I can have let's do one blinking a little bit faster than the other, just to drive everybody nuts. Yeah, let's just do a little bit faster. That way they're synchronized to begin with, and then they get off. So let's see here. All right, so I have all LEDs off, and then while true, I'm going to start task. Green blink. And then I do want to also stop that task. There's so many different things you could do. You could have green blinking, and then when the button is pressed to start red blinking, and so on and so forth. There's all kinds of different things you could do. But let's go ahead and compile, make sure I didn't make any errors, and that comes back clean. And it did not. So I forgot an E there. Green blink. File program. And I have errors again. So let's see. Yep. Okay. Compile program, and this is why we use an IDE, integrated developer environment, is because the program will find errors with our code and help us with that. It's also telling me these functions aren't being used, and so that's why I'm getting yellow X's here. It's saying that you don't need them because they're not being used, but we're going to leave them there for right now. So now let's download to the robot. I think we're ready. This is the big test. Okay, I'm going to click start, and nothing should happen until I push the button. Now, ooh, they're already off from synchronization. And they're going to match up here in a second, aren't they? On. Oh, they're off again. So there's a lot of things you can do with multiple tasks. It's great because these are just two tasks completely independent of each other. If I were to write this in a program in a single task, it would be very complicated, but doing it as separate tasks is a whole lot easier. Okay, hey, I'm going to put a link to tasks in the description below. RobotC.net has some really great resources. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments below, and please subscribe. It really helps my channel. And like this video if you liked it. If not, tell me why you didn't like it and how I can improve, and I will definitely use that feedback. Thank you so much, guys.